it's right here. Yeah.
My official is a
I use That's not day job. Okay. That's all good. Yeah. I'm not going to fight. Here it comes. I don't know if it matters.
They'll be part of it.
So you
that we are setting up.
So where you sit?
Social framework.
So you'll sit on this side. You'll be the bookend here. Okay. And then you'll be next to.
Oh, so you my point order?
Yeah.
Weird. I was going to say, are we speaking from our chair?
You want to stand up?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You okay?
This is fun. This is too many things, too little time.
It's a sign of a good life.
Question, but there are several principles in that clause. That's not it's not one that Hope was working with, is it? Okay.
Three and speaking one close. Brooks is the well-known one. Hope's at the other one.
Okay.
There's two left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just. This August. When I say,
It is right up there.
Lovely. There's a million crowd in the middle of the storm.
All right. On a warm day.
Well, that might have been some of the attraction.
That was what I did. That was here.
Timeline. Great.
As we have folks filtering into the room, can I have your attention, please? This is going to sound like an announcement from the front of church. I would ask folks to fill in the center. I think we're going to be busting at the seams, thankfully, for this next hour. So just, if you could, scoot in towards the center and up front as well.
Fall, spring, summer. We've got full semesters, three semesters a year. They get the breaks at the end of each semester. Yeah, they're working year round. And you know, it is because, well, at least when we started, we were the only real program in the prison. And so all of a sudden, you can imagine if you go from being busy, daily, having, let's say, 3 months off, it just doesn't feel right anymore. They have that much time in it. So they do prefer to be busy. And frankly, now that they are busy, they love their breaks. They treat them like a student. They're going to get caught up on sleep. They're going to get caught home. They're going to do the kind of thing students do. Yeah, in fact, I'll be teaching tonight. Class starts at 6 o'clock, so intro to theology. A great student. So it's a delight to teach. Oh. I suppose that most basically it's a response to the Word of God revealed. I'm a good party. So reading theology is a witness to the initial Word of God revealed. Then we find it along the way.
Yeah, I guess one of the points of attention all the time is it more studying God's people? Is it God's ways and God's will?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd parse out too much of that.
I guess if the scripture focus is ways and will,
Yeah,
the being stuff is more poetic and
Well, I
philosophical.
was just going to say, that ends up being more speculative.
Yeah, right.
Often I find taken too seriously detrimental.
Yeah. Agreed.
Leads all sorts of bad directions. It's also, frankly, an activity of the church, right? So this is where art can now be known as a systematic theologian, not be known as a dogmatic theologian. A dogmatic in the sense of the dogmas of the church. And so he even called his massive work church dogmatics. It was good. I had the situation with over here. Preach at a church, and then on Monday afternoon I gave a full lecture at the public library on the Calvin prison. Well, that was great. 2 out of the 4 of us got sick. So my youngest daughter, who's 8, got sick tired. My wife got the bug, started going down on the bottom, the beginning of the bug. And then my oldest daughter started getting sick on Monday. It was down Sunday, Monday. My wife wasn't feeling well on Friday and Saturday. And then her oldest wasn't feeling well on Sunday and Monday. We had to leave Monday night. Yeah. The trip was excellent. The tasks I had to do were great. It was fun. They call it seminars. And for the month of July, they get all these people to give lectures on and off the week, you know. It's crazy how they do it. I think the days were former governor. I guess it must be, I realize, because that area is a destination place for people. That's what I call it. Those types of the same way. Those talks they do, like that. They gave a few talks. Down at the lady.
Yeah.
The lights were
Good afternoon. My name is David Wonder. I am Dean for Faculty Development and a Professor of Engineering at, wait for it, get used to it, celebrate it, Calvin University. We were a bit conflicted. We did get 2 dress memos, one to wear the shirt and one to dress up a little bit. So I think we've tried to address that adequately. Regardless, it is my profound pleasure to welcome you to this panel discussion focused on anticipating Calvin University, and it is an honor to serve as a moderator among 5 esteemed colleagues who will share from their experience and with passion the manifold ways to begin imagining and anticipating Calvin University. Let me introduce our panelists, and they're in order as I speak. Closest to me is Joel Carpenter. He is director of the Nagel Institute for the Study of World Christianity, professor of history, and our former provost, a couple generations ago, of provosts. Todd Chaffee is the director of the Calvin Prison Initiative and associate professor of Congregational and Ministry Studies. Amy Wilsterman is associate professor of biology and co-director of Calvin University's honors program. Adejoke Ayula is associate professor of nursing and she's principal investigator on numerous service-related research projects focused on community-based nursing practices, primarily in Grand Rapids. And Cheryl Branson is provost and professor of social work, and she will serve as our respondent today. So before I hand over the time to the panelists, I'd like to frame today's conversation by reading, actually, or reciting for many of us, our mission statement, and also Vision 2030 and the values that go with it. I think it provides a nice and necessary framework as we celebrate Calvin University. So here's the mission, and it might be corny, it might feel a little bit hokey, but feel free to go along with me as I read this. Calvin College equips students to think deeply. Calvin University. I was testing you. Okay, here we go. Calvin University equips students to think deeply, to act justly, and to live wholeheartedly as Christ's agents of renewal in the world. And I don't expect as many voices yet with the vision. By 2030, Calvin will become a Christian liberal arts university with an expanded global influence. We envision Calvin University as a trusted partner for learning across religious and cultural differences and throughout the academy, the church, and the world. Calvin University will be animated by a reformed Christian faith that seeks understanding and promotes the welfare of the city and the healing of the world. We welcome all who are compelled by God's work of renewal to join us in the formative pursuits of lifelong learning, teaching, scholarship, worship, and service. Now, there are four coupled values, so there are two words coupled together that really go a long way in describing what marks us moving forward, and these were really held strongly and continue to be formative as we think about the vision. And let me just share these coupled words: boldness and humility, curiosity and conviction, diversity and inclusion, tradition and innovation. Now, to our panelists, that's what you all are here for. A quick note, we are planning for a 10 to 15 minute Q&A, question and answer session toward the end, so we do have a bit of a constrained time frame for each of our panelists. But we will take those questions and answers together, so allow our panelists to share their time with each other, and then we'll go to the group with questions and answers. First panelist is Joel Carpenter.
Warm greetings, one and all. It is a delight to participate in this panel. When the provost asked me to speak about this moment, my mind went back to my first speech as provost back in 1996. And I said that immigrants' dreams of a great Christian university in North America haunted our halls here at Calvin, and I urged us to pursue that dream. And so today we're taking the next step. And this idea comes, I want to convince you today, this idea comes from somewhere deep in the soul of this institution. So please allow me to make 3 points briefly. The first, Calvin has been a college with the soul of a university. That's our heritage. Second, Calvin has been doing university-like things. And third, the moment is right now for Calvin to call itself a university. So Calvin loves to quote Abram Kuyper's famous words, "There's not a square inch in the whole domain of our human existence over which Christ, who is sovereign over all, does not cry, mine." Remember the occasion when he said those words. Do you know what they were? It was the inaugural speech to start the Free University of Amsterdam. He was saying Christ demands that we explore every inch of the universe. So when Dutch Reformed folk immigrated here, pastors and farmers and school teachers, they brought this dream with them of the great Calvinistic university in North America. Calvin came from very modest beginnings, but at each step along its development, this idea of something greater and more all-encompassing bubbled up. One of those occasions in 1957 was when the officers of the college asked the Christian Reformed Church for the permission to buy the land that this campus sits on. It was a moment to review why the CRC needed a college. And there were 3 reasons the Synod stated: to provide a liberal arts education for Christian youth, to be a center for Christian scholarship, and to apply this scholarship to the vital issues of the day. Now, most Christian colleges today pretty much stop their mission statement with point 1. But Calvin, even way back then, said it existed for all 3 of these reasons. In more recent years, faculty and officers of the college have kept this university dream percolating. There was a study committee on graduate education formed in the late 1980s at Calvin, which developed a report that recommended that the college should go forward with postgraduate programs. It was approved by the Board of Trustees. So we don't have to seek approval to do those things today. It's already on the books. Another was Calvin's participation, along with 6 other Reformed Christian colleges, in a group called ARUNA, the Association for a Reformed University in North America. And so that vision was put right out there with annual conferences back in the 80s and early 90s. Calvin's been doing university-like things. That should be obvious. Over the past 50 years and at an accelerated pace, in the past 25 years, Calvin has been building out its capacity and its record in scholarship and service. People think of the 1970s and early 1980s here as the good old days, and indeed they were, when giants like Plantinga and Walterstorff and Marsden and Mao stalked the land or the halls. But today at Calvin, everybody is a bit taller. The average scholarly activity across the board now is much higher and much more well-supported than it was back then. It's been a gradual process, but the level of scholarly engagement here is higher than the average liberal arts college. Faculty here feel the call not only to be faithful laborers in their scholarship, but to be Christian thought leaders too. Virtually every Christian scholarly and professional society that exists today in North America was pioneered by Calvin faculty. It's an amazing record. Universities emphasize service too. And they're known for making community betterment the living laboratory for profs and their students to discover and learn. There are too many examples to cite here of what Calvin's done on the service end, but Calvin excels in community service. I think of the Plaster Creek Environmental Initiative. I think of Calvin's leadership over decades in improving mathematics and science education at Grand Rapids schools and hauling down 6-figure grants again and again to do that. I think of the exemplary work that Prof. Ayula here and her nursing colleagues have done in community health. You'll hear more about that. Our centers and institutes reach out in major ways, locally, nationally, internationally. The rationale for growing more of these back in the 90s when I started here was that they promote university-level research and service. The Worship Institute has a major impact. It ranges deep and wide and brings 1,500 people here every year for a symposium. The Faith and Writing Institute brings 2,000 every other year for its festival. Kuyers, Paul Henry, and Nagel Institutes each reach hundreds of scholars worldwide with their programs and research grants. My friends, this is all university work. I can't think of another small liberal arts college that does half as many things in service like this. I used to work at Wheaton College, one of the best of the Christian liberal arts colleges, and I can say for a fact that they do not. Our students benefit hugely from these efforts. There's an irony here, too, because many Christian liberal arts educators would say, we are here for our students, it's all about the students. I hear Kuyper rumbling and grumbling in his grave. He would say, it's all about the mission. I'm sure he would shout that. You can sell students short by focusing too much on them. The trick is to engage them to focus on the mission. We've just recited the mission, and it's beyond themselves. So those who do that among our students, they'll find whole new vistas opening up to them. Not just learning from texts, but doing research and service alongside their profs. benefiting from the enriched campus life that these activities provide, and seeing concretely what it means to go out into the world for Christ's sake. So Calvin has been on this university trajectory for decades, and it has made us a vital and engaged campus. So the moment is right for Calvin to call itself a university. The short answer to anyone who asks why Calvin is doing this, like they did in the dentist's office to me this morning, as we say, we've been a real university for years, and now we provide more accurate labeling. But beyond that, we see the need to do something different. The times are telling us that. We've been pushing harder and working harder and putting more money into recruiting a declining cohort of traditional undergraduates in the northern part of the USA. That's just a declining number of people who might partake in this kind of education. So are we just going to ride this decline to its natural terminus, God help us, wherever that is? Or are we going to do something more? We're saying today we're going to do something more. There are people out there who would benefit from the tremendous community of talent and expertise and devotion we have here at Calvin. We need to research and develop graduate programs that play to our academic strengths and meet the world's deep needs. There are eager young professionals out there who want what we have on offer. So we also have, as Professor Ayula would demonstrate, some remarkable reach-outs underway internationally. She'll tell you about one, there are others. Our strategic plan calls for such moves, and our name change today signals that we are going after it. I'm retiring next month, and I want you to know how hopeful, how encouraged I am by this decision, especially coming in a time, frankly, of stress and strain. It's a choice for a future of greater service to the Lord's reign, and my hopes and prayers go with Calvin University.
It is a privilege to be with you here this afternoon, and I am immensely blessed to be the director of the Calvin Prison Initiative. And now I have to say, I did not graduate from Calvin College, now university. I graduated from another college, whose name shall not be mentioned. But I am unbelievably proud of Calvin University and that I get to be a part of Calvin University, because it's the sort of institution, the sort of university that would champion the Calvin Prison Initiative. So I know many of you know about CPI, the Calvin Prison Initiative, but just let me say a word about the program and then about how I understand this program being a part of this university vision. The CPI program started in 2015 as a partnership between Calvin College and Calvin Theological Seminary. Prior to 2015, there had been some non-credit-bearing courses offered at the Richard Handlin Prison in Ionia, Michigan. And then in 2015, we realized we had a program. We got permission to go forward with this program. And as I like to say, we had to build a program while going down the highway at lickety-split speed. So we had no idea what we were doing other than being educators, but we had no idea how to put together an educational program in a prison. So it's been an amazing 4 years, a tough 4 years, but an exciting 4 years. The program today, we have just under 100 students. It's a 5-year program. At the end of 5 years, they'll earn a BA in Faith and Community Leadership. The average GPA for our students in the CPI program is 3.6, and I'd say it's a bit higher than the main campus here. We do a great job of recruiting faculty, but I think we wreck them because after they teach in the CPI program, they say, it's going to make it a little tougher coming back to the main campus. Our students do all the reading and then some. They love the work. They love the vision that Calvin provides for them, and they love the hope that it instills. Just to give you a sense of the significance of this program, 2/3 of our students are serving life sentences. In the state of Michigan, they are ineligible for programming within the prison system. So if you are serving a life sentence in a prison in Michigan, you may not take programming. The state looks at it as, why would they invest in a lifer who will never be released from prison? Instead, they want to invest in prisoners they know will be released. So we intentionally take 2/3 of our students as lifers to give them an opportunity to discover who they are, what their gifts are, that they're called by God, and that they can have a meaningful life and future. And so we literally tell them that when they start the program, part of what they'll be doing for the next 5 years is career development. That they matter, they have a calling, they have a career in the prison. And so we're coming up on our 5th year. We will graduate our first cohort of students with the BA in May, and we are getting them ready for careers. They will have jobs to perform as servant leaders in Michigan's prisons, and through that we hope they will be Christ agents of renewal, and they will be prison reform, if you will, throughout Michigan. As I think about the vision that we had read to us about Calvin University in the future, 2 phrases jump out at me immediately in terms of CPI. One is, we envision Calvin University as a trusted partner for learning, a trusted partner. When we started the program, we had to partner with the Michigan Department of Corrections. They were highly suspicious. They did not believe that this program would work, and in fact, after I started my job as director of the program, 2 weeks into it, I had a captain there in the prison at Handlin pull me aside, and he said, "So you're the director of this program?" I said, "I am." And he said, "I've been working for the Michigan Department of Corrections for 25 years. I'm a captain on first shift at a prison, which means I've earned a very good position over 25 years. He goes, "I've seen everything come and go, and I've seen every program fail." He said, "So just so you know, Calvin's program is going to fail." And he says, "Do you know why? Because you're working with convicts. And once a convict, always a convict." And then he said, "Now, I'm here to help you because I was ordered to do so by Lansing. So you tell me what you need and I'll help." I said, "Thank you very much. I'll remember that." A year later, he pulled me aside in the waiting area for visitors at the front of the prison. And now he said, "Professor Chaffee, do you have a moment?" I said, "I do." And he said, "I need to apologize." And I said, "For what? Why do you need to apologize to me?" And he said, "Do you remember when I pulled you aside a year ago?" And I said, "I do. I do. Why, as if it was yesterday." And he said, "I was wrong. This program has made all the difference." He said, "I've never seen anything like it. Now I have 26 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, and I am sold. This program is changing lives across the board." That's when I knew we had trusted partnership. And so it took a while to begin to build that relationship and build that trust, but now we very much can say that we are partners with the Michigan Department of Corrections in the state of Michigan. So much so that we've been invited to participate in other programs beyond the Calvin program. So we are now partnering with them to work on renovating a building and create more educational space at our prison. And we're going to have things like a culinary school, master gardening classes, our own classroom space for Calvin University. And then we're going to be able to invite other institutions like Creative Dining, Grand Rapids Community College, and other institutions to come in and to work with students, not just in the Calvin program, but now in the other programs that are at the prison. And then together we can talk about rehabilitation and also for those men who will get out of prison, life after prison. So we really have developed a trusted partnership, and it's made all the difference. And so as I think about the future for Calvin University, I think about these sort of trusted partnerships out in the world where it may take time. It may take time to convince people that they don't have the right idea about what we're trying to accomplish. But once we get to that point, we really do have shared vision for the future. And so we've been asked now by the state of Michigan, the Department of Corrections, to go into other facilities, other prisons, and start programs. I would love to do so, but I tell them we just don't have the resources yet for that sort of thing. So we actually did work with Hope College and Western Seminary for the past almost 2 years now, and we coached them along, and now they've started a program in Muskegon. And so we were able to help broker that relationship and that opportunity with the director of the Michigan Department of Corrections, Heidi Washington. So we're thrilled about this partnership and eager to see where it goes, and eager really to encourage other departments or other groups around the university to think about partnerships that they too could build and kind of move together in the future. The second phrase that I see in the vision statement that clearly points to us as CPI, where we promote the welfare of the city and the healing of the world. Without a doubt, we have now heard stories from our students, and these are people often coming from places like Detroit or Lansing or Kalamazoo, St. Joe, Benton Harbor, Muskegon, Grand Rapids, the UP, they come from all over. But we have heard story after story about how many of these men prior to incarceration had no hope, no real opportunities, and it's really, frankly, no wonder that they ended up in prison. So I have in my mind a story of Anthony Willis, who is a rising senior in the CPI program. When he was in junior high here in Grand Rapids, he was living with his mother and siblings out of their car. He managed actually to attend school as a junior higher while living out of the car. 2 years ago, we had a picnic for family and friends of our students at Calvin Seminary, and one of his aunts came to the picnic. And during the time of Q&A, she stood up and said, "I want to make a comment." She said, "As far as I know, every male in my family has either been in prison or is in prison." And then she said, "As far as I know, no one in my family has ever gone to college except Anthony." Well, that just strikes you right in the heart. It's both sad and it's both hopeful. So now Anthony, who grew up in his car in junior high, went to prison, is now a Calvin University student. And he's getting A's and B's, and his hope someday is when he gets out, he wants to work for Christian community development organizations here in Grand Rapids. Now, Anthony has 2 daughters who are in junior high. And so he gets to call them at the end of every semester and tell them how he did grade-wise, what his courses were like, and how he is a successful university student. And so when we talk about the healing of a city or the healing of a world and the sort of reconciliation that is needed for that, I can think of no better location right now than Handlin Prison in Ionia. So this is an exciting time for Calvin University. Something like the Calvin Prison Initiative is just a wonderfully blessed program, and we ought to be very, very proud that God has blessed us with this program. And my hope is not only that CPI will continue to flourish, but it will really act as a model and inspiration for others here at the university to kind of branch out, way out, beyond our immediate campus, into the city and into the world. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I, too, am very excited to be here today. I had a chance to visit the Handlin campus last summer, and it was an incredible experience. And it's one of the things that just makes me so proud and humbled to be able to be a part of an institution that runs a program like this. I left Handlin campus thinking this is what Calvin is about. So thank you for all your work on that. So I've been asked today to talk about one of the goals that you see in the strategic plan, and that's collaborate to enhance learning. And I want to specifically focus on internal collaborations. Todd talked about some external collaborations. Joe Kay is also going to talk about some external collaborations, but I want to focus on what it looks like when we collaborate with one another within Calvin University. So I want to briefly talk about 2 projects that I'm involved with right now. that really have relied a lot on internal collaboration. And then I want to spend just a few minutes discussing ways that Calvin University can promote further collaborations, and what are some of the strategies for doing that as we move toward 2025, and then also move beyond that. So the first project I want to tell you about is a rare disease project. And the goal of this project is really to serve the needs of the rare disease community in West Michigan, and then also beyond, through both laboratory-based research and also community engagement. So just to give you a little bit of context here, it's estimated that 1 in 10 people is affected by a rare disease. So that's a lot of people in our community that are affected by these diseases. So this project has involved collaborations with lots of faculty on campus, representing lots of different disciplines. So it really started with myself from biology, a colleague from chemistry, and another colleague from the computer science department. So we came up with this vision about what we wanted to do, and we started working together. Since then, this project has expanded to include a colleague from psychology. We've been working closely with somebody from physics this year. We've worked with somebody from philosophy in the past. And a student just came to me with an idea for a project today that will involve an art professor. So art professors, I'm going to come looking for you here shortly. It's also involved work with other Calvin institutes and organizations. So we partnered with the center, the Calvin Center for Christian Studies. We partnered with the Public Health Initiative and the Alumni Association. This year we're also partnering with the Kyers Institute. Also, collaboration with students has been essential throughout this process. They are involved in our research laboratory. We're involving them in this project in our classrooms. So we think it's really important for our students. They are developing skills and knowledge as well as an appreciation for what it looks like to collaborate, and developing appreciation for diversity of experience and diversity of expertise, and how that all comes to bear on a successful project. All of these internal collaborations have really increased our knowledge and our understanding, and that has advanced our scholarship efforts, and it's also enhanced our capacity to serve the rare disease community in West Michigan. Last year we held a Rare Disease Day Symposium, and this coming year we are also going to hold another Rare Disease Day Symposium. We also have put together a rare disease research and support website. Now, for some of these initiatives, we have leaned on the expertise and the resources of other folks at Calvin as well. So folks at the Prince Conference Center and folks in communications and marketing. So lots and lots of people involved in making these things possible. So these have enabled us to grow and to partner outside of Calvin as well. So this coming symposium, we're going to partner with Michigan State University and also the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital so that we can reach more people in our community. So one of the things that Todd mentioned was being a trusted partner. And with this project, one of our goals is to become a trusted partner, a real resource for the rare disease community. That's defined by building collaborative community where we can share knowledge and resources and stories with the ultimate goal of trying to enhance the lives of those that are affected by rare diseases. Now, this project that I mentioned is certainly not the only collaborative project that is successful at Calvin and that is really flourishing and making a significant impact. There's many others that I could mention. A few of those include the Clean Water Institute projects, the Returning Citizens projects through the Civitas Center, Plaster Creek Stewards, Public Health Initiative, many others that have really benefited from collaborative efforts. The other project that I'm involved in that I'd like to mention briefly is the Honors and Collegiate Scholars Program. Now, the goal of this project was to develop a program that would attract students and provide unique opportunities for them. Also, we want this program to provide opportunities for classroom and curriculum innovations that will have benefits beyond the honors program. This too has involved lots of collaboration with faculty from across the campus to develop the program. I had many, many meetings. Craig and I had many, many meetings with many of you over a long period of time. And also pulling people together to teach in the program. The Honors Program, the Honors Scholars Program, is a series of interdisciplinary team-taught courses that replace some of a student's core curriculum. And we had a faculty development workshop a few weeks ago, and it just was joy-filled. I had so much fun at this workshop. It was an opportunity to see faculty that were really excited about working across disciplinary boundaries, excited about learning from one another, and really engaging students in new ways. In addition to the faculty involved in that workshop, we also had help from the Teaching and Learning Network, the Center for Counseling and Wellness, the Career Center, Heckman Library staff. So again, lots and lots of input, lots and lots of expertise from many people. And I think the thing that I walked away with after that session was that everyone on campus is doing really, really exciting work. They're passionate about what they do. They're passionate about educating students. They're committed to Calvin's mission, and they're excited about opportunities to work together. So I've been talking about this goal of collaborating to enhance learning. So I want to think just for a few minutes about what does that actually mean, and then also what might it look like going forward, and how can we grow in some of those areas. So collaboration, as I mentioned, collaboration across disciplines, opportunities to learn from one another, opportunities to encourage one another. Collaboration between faculty, staff, institutes, different offices at Calvin. Like I said, there's a lot of expertise, so many insights on campus that can enhance projects, things that can expand our influence and increase our learning outcomes. And then collaboration with students. This is essential. We can learn so much from them, and we have opportunities to train them to really value collaboration and value a diversity of expertise and experience. So as we think about moving forward as a university, what might this look like, and how do we cultivate these collaborative engagements? So one of the things that's mentioned, one of the strategies, is to cultivate faculty scholarship and student learning that is anchored in disciplinary study and invigorated by effective collaboration. So that might mean something like developing university structures and policies that facilitate and promote collaboration. So one of the pieces in the strategic plan is to develop this university structure. So how do we do that in such a way that really promotes engagement across boundaries? Also, another piece of the strategic plan is building spaces that inspire learning and promote community. So I think about this both in terms of physical spaces that encourage collisions between people that might not otherwise run into one another, and therefore opportunities to share ideas and to share expertise. But I also think about spaces more in terms of building a community, building a culture that is characterized by hospitality, by humility, by trust, by curiosity. So to have space to develop that kind of culture. And then one last point is as we think about opportunities to engage together, one of the other pieces in the strategic plan is equipping people to tell how Calvin University is contributing to God's work in the world. And I think we need to really work on how do we tell our story well to one another. We do a good job often telling the story outside of Calvin, but I think there's really some great opportunities to grow in terms of telling our story to one another. So providing opportunities there for collaboration, but also for encouragement of one another, also for expressing gratitude to one another, and to really recognize the great work that occurs here.
Good afternoon. I'm Adejoke Ayola. I'm quite excited to be here this afternoon just to celebrate this transition of Calvin College becoming a university. Just like what Joel said when he was speaking, and he said it's long overdue, I was just thinking of my experience in Nigeria. That's one of the projects I was speaking about. And we had an auditorium filled with so many people, and they were asking me, why is that institution called Calvin College? Why not Calvin University? So when he spoke, I know that I had to explain to that international audience why it's called Calvin College as of that time. But I told them it's actually operating at the level of a university. So I just support what he was saying, and I was just smiling that is true. It's long overdue because we're doing so many things right now that resonate a lot with our international audience. So I will be speaking today about our local collaborations as well as our international collaboration. So I will start with the local collaborations and what we're doing right here in Grand Rapids and how I see that one, just expanding. Because when I think of our work in the nursing department and I look at our vision 2030, that vision, part of it is saying that we want to promote the welfare of a city and the healing of the world. And when I think of that, I just feel like dancing and jumping that, yes, there are so many things that we're doing that will fit into this, and becoming a university will give us that opportunity to really continue to grow in all those areas. And I think about our community-based participatory research in the nursing department. We've done a series of projects, and I will just be highlighting a couple of them this afternoon, just to give you an idea of those projects and those partnerships. So when I think of a vision also, I think about the trusted partner. A lot of people have talked about that. And at the nursing department, we've been in our neighborhoods now for almost 2 decades, going to almost 20 years, and we've been able to build that partnership. And we have 4 neighborhoods that we work with, and it's a very unique neighborhood because, or I would say all the neighborhoods, they are unique because they are racially diverse. And I remember when I first came to Calvin College, that was over 10 years ago, I was really excited. I said, wow, you've got all this, racially diverse group right here in Grand Rapids, and it's a wonderful place for you to actually prepare nurses as health professionals to go into different parts of the world. So we have our Baxter Madison neighborhood where we have mostly African American, We have our Creston Belknap where we have mostly white, and then we have Button Heights, we have mostly Hispanic. And we've been able to do a lot of work in those neighborhoods. We have our art side where we have mostly homeless people, and we have different activities. One of the activities that we're doing in the community as of now is our Women Supporting Women. That one is being coordinated by the chair of the department, Dr. Mary Mowak-Dombos. That project is just to promote women's emotional well-being. I was still in the community yesterday teaching our women about Women's Health Promotion Program. That is the one that I'm coordinating. And one of the community workers, she was so excited. She said, we just had our graduation, about a week or 2 weeks ago, and it's so exciting to see the women, feeling empowered based on that interaction, because it's actually a group of women supporting women, and that they were really very happy about that program. But the one that I'm coordinating that I'll talk about is the Women's Health Promotion Program. We started this one over 10 years ago, and we started with just asking women, what are the things you think we could do to help you recognize your pregnancies early, as well as to reduce unintended pregnancy? This was based on my doctoral work, and we felt like we can't just jump into the community. We need to partner with the community. We need to ask them what is really relevant. So with the community-based participatory research, we're actually working with the community to identify the health problems, to design solutions. So they are the ones preferring the solutions, and we work with them to deliver that solution that they've suggested. And they said, teach us about our body. And that was how we started our project over 10 years ago. We designed it with them. How do you want us to teach you? Should we come into your homes? Should we teach you in the clinics and all that? And we designed that, and we were going from one home to the other, involving our nursing students And just like I said, God has really been able to help us to build strong partnership in the community so that when you enter into the community and they see Calvin students, they are very happy to open their doors. We're welcome in the community. So I see that as we continue to grow and we're thinking of what we could do as a university, we have a lot of, good relationship built already that we can actually develop. And with the Women's Health Promotion Program, the women also said, teach our daughters. That was another thing they said. So we continued to listen to them, teach our daughters. Then we said, okay, we'll teach your daughters. And they were talking about reproductive health. Teach them about what you are teaching us. Let them start early. But, and that's how we started Health Camp in 2016. So we designed that camp for young girls from the age of 9 to 15, and we teach them about reproductive health, about nutrition, about emotional health. We talk a lot about mental health and self-esteem. We also talk about different health professions. So that the full meaning of health is actually health education and leadership training for a hopeful future. So how do we prepare these young girls so that they will feel equipped by the time they become young adults, when it comes to the culture of health, as well as to know different health professions that they will be interested in. So we have, different experts coming in to talk about their professions. We have doctors, nurses, we have physical therapists, speech and audiology experts, different people coming to speak to these girls. So we just finished one this last 2 weeks where we had over 100 girls here on Calvin campus running around and being excited. Another good thing about this that is really inspiring for us is that parents and grandparents, they are involved. So when we're talking about trusted partners or we're talking about promoting the welfare of a city, we found that, parents, they came to their graduation ceremony, and I still remember our first health camp. After that health camp, a lot of us were actually crying because we were just so filled with joy hearing that feedback. Some of the parents, that was the first time they would ever step on a university campus. That was the first time. And some of them, the first time they would step on Calvin campus. So it was so meaningful for those parents. And we have a lot of Hispanic population. So they were quite excited that, wow, we could get here. And that's why it's quite exciting for us that those girls, they could come here and they could also aspire that one day I will be either on Calvin University campus, I will be here, or I will be in another campus. But that is one thing that we're excited about. So we feel that with all this, I'm just talking about those two. Another thing I would like to talk about in terms of we being prepared and what we could leverage as we think about university is the preparation of our students. In the nursing department, most of these projects, they are interwoven with our practicum classes. So our students, they are involved in the project, they are exposed to research, they are exposed to surveys, and they are exposed to, really educating people about things that are important as health professionals. And a lot of them now, they are in graduate programs, and that's another good thing that we see, that Michigan State University, we're partnering with them, we're partnering with GVSU, we're partnering with University of Michigan, and some of our students, they are going to that institution. Just 2 days ago, John Hopkins emailed us that we'd love to partner with you because we've seen that a lot of your students that you've been sending our way, they've been well prepared. So I just feel like, okay, this is a wonderful thing that is coming our way. And when I think about international collaboration, we receive lots of emails from different parts of the world. We'd love to come and work with you. We want to come for our postdoc. We want to come for this. Then I will be thinking, okay, if you want to come, then we need to have that structure set up for us to be able to have opportunities for that. And for our interaction with Bowen University, they started in 2017. It was funded through Carnegie Foundation. So I went back to Nigeria as an African-born scholar to work at Bowen University. Bowen University is a faith-based institution. One thing that they were really excited about throughout all my presentation is, how is it that Calvin University, then Calvin College, could sustain their integration of faith into learning since 1876? They would ask me over and over. And they were really excited about that, that we really love to learn from Calvin University how to do that. And through our partnership with Bowen, they are now part of International Network for Christian Higher Education, used to be called IAPK. I'll be going to Canada in 2 weeks to present on part of our partnership, and they are interested in collaborating with us at Calvin College. They're interested in learning from our faculty members, how do we really teach from a faith perspective? They're interested in learning, from the nursing department perspective, our curriculum, we've been able to work with them to revise their curriculum, and they are incorporating a lot of things that we're doing, exchange of publications and materials. So when I envision and I think of the future, I see that this is just a model, this is just the beginning of opportunities for Calvin University to actually make impact, globally, when we're talking of even graduate education in nursing. I'm thinking of online programs, these are things that Bowen, they are discussing with us and they're interested in partnering with. When we talk about terminal degree in nursing, we're thinking about PhD in nursing. How could we actually continue to partner with some of those institutions, especially the faith-based one, but not only the faith-based one, even the secular ones, they are interested in actually partnering and learning, from us. And that's what I see, and it's quite exciting when I think of our international collaboration. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, all of you, for your thoughtful remarks. One of the great joys of my position is being able to work with bright and talented and committed faculty like these colleagues every single day. It's a great joy. Collectively, all of you have reminded us of ways in which Calvin's new vision statement is already being enacted, and you have challenged us with opportunities moving forward. I want to just say a few things about what's changing and what's not and what we need to do next, working from what my colleagues have said. Drawing from our expanded statement of mission, from the start, Calvin has aspired to provide education marked by rigor and excellence and infused in whole and in every part by a vital Reformed Christian vision. This vision has shaped Calvin's entire educational enterprise. It has provided coherence and a foundation for Calvin's excellence in teaching, learning, and scholarship. And from the beginning, this Calvin education has aimed at developing Christian wisdom that includes knowing and doing, perspective and praxis, engaging both heart and mind. And this will continue as we move forward. Calvin's current expanded statement of mission also speaks to scholarship. Joel mentioned that earlier. Scholarship is needed not just for intellectual vitality or prestige or adornment. It has been needed so that Calvin can do its part in the larger mission of being God's agent of witness and reconciliation in the world. This has been an academic and vocational calling for Calvin, and these scholarly commitments will continue as we move forward. Calvin's expanded statement of mission also speaks to our aspirations for community. Calvin has been a specific kind of community, a learning community. This has been our educational task, and it's also been a principle that learning is best done in community. Students and faculty together have acquired knowledge and insight. Both Amy and Joe Kay have spoken to that, and Todd also. Together, we have helped one another cultivate aspirations, nurture commitments, and practice what we preach. Together, we have tried to pursue the demands of justice. Together, we have engaged in ordinary work, guided by faithfulness to God's word. And together, we have aimed to be conformed more and more to the likeness of God and to be agents of reconciliation and renewal. These things will continue also as we anticipate Calvin University. And yet, as our current expanded statement of mission foreshadowed, we cannot rest upon the legacy of our past. As we anticipate Calvin University, there are crucial questions that we have been asking and should continue to ask, questions like these. Given all of the constraints and pressures facing higher education today, given the forces of secularization, given a false and polarizing narrative that we must choose between education that gets one a job versus learning for its own sake, what does it mean to be a Reformed Christian university today? And in reaction to external pressures, how do we not become defensive, sectarian, or insular? Qualities which surely do not embody the best of a Reformed Christian institution whose vision it is to have an expanded global influence and be a trusted partner. And what does it take to build and sustain a university in which our Reformed Christian faith and tradition continue to shape all aspects of our life together? We will never arrive completely at answers to these questions, and if we think we have, then likely we are much worse off than we imagine. But these must become questions, centering questions, to which we return annually, if not more often, and ask, how are we doing? For the shorter term, I offer two suggestions that I think will help us move toward engaging these questions. First, and Joel spoke to this, it is all about mission. A committee of faculty and staff have been working to consider how best to structure the academic division of the university. As part of our work, we have consulted with a number of university presidents and provosts, and one of the questions we have asked along the way to faculty from faith-based institutions is, how do they maintain their religious fidelity as they reach out to form new partnerships and programs? And to a person, their answer has to do with mission. That is, administrators, trustees, faculty, staff must be explicit, affirming, and unapologetic about our Reformed mission and embody this in their everyday interactions with each other. Hence, a foundational goal of Calvin's new strategic plan is to embody a faithful and engaged Reformed Christianity. And this will be accomplished in part by strengthening structures and practices that will cultivate commitments, that will promote community, and that will include globally diverse expressions of Reformed Christianity. And a good deal of this will happen through the new Kuiper Institute, which was announced about a year ago, and we've been working toward launching that well in the past year. As we do this work of faculty and staff development, we have a treasure trove from which to draw. We have a sturdy and thoughtful theological tradition. We have deep and rich disciplinary scholarship. We have vibrant and engaged professional programs. We have a denomination that provides a theological heritage and a supportive community of faith. But we cannot take this for granted. We must always be about the work of mining our resources, its resources, and translating them into fresh, life-giving language and practices that speak to current realities. And the second thing that I think we need to learn to do to work toward these questions and answers is we must continue to learn to speak and listen well to each other. I know some of you are saying, the social worker is talking. But all of us who love Calvin, students, staff, faculty, administrators, trustees, alums, donors, members of the Christian Reformed Church and the larger church worldwide, we all must learn to do this better. We must resist the impulse to bend toward pessimism and hopelessness, to monger fear and contempt and anger toward others, to separate people and ideas into flat and unimaginative categories of right or wrong, in or out, conservative or liberal, and so forth. To become a university that is able to model how to speak and listen well across deep divisions, of which there are many, is, I think, one of the most critically important tasks we're going to face going forward. We already are facing it. My hope is that Calvin University will be a place that will continue to be a place where we live out our academic vocation of helping each other think deeply and act justly. To do this, we must continue to develop the capacity to engage with each other patiently, attentively, respectfully, charitably, with humility, and with a willingness to be corrected. When we do this work well, we participate in building up the body of Christ. We witness the power of the gospel to be a force for reconciliation in a divided world. We ourselves become a people who live more deeply into Christ, learning to practice a humble and grace-filled obedience. And when we fail, which we have done and will do, to listen or speak well, even our best successes in teaching or scholarship become clanging cymbals and noisy gongs. Julian the Apostate, in the 4th century AD, unhappily witnessed the Christian community growing because of the loving service Christians rendered to strangers. What if Calvin University can be known as a place that, deeply steeped in and committed to a robust Reformed identity, can engage some of the most divisive and complex challenges with a tone of charity and love, hospitality and kindness, with deep intellectual and theological curiosity and heft, and with a desire for flourishing. This is not milquetoast. This is quite the opposite. This is hard work. If we do not continue to develop the capacity to do this work well, we will be mediocre. We will be fearful and cautious of ever digging deep into difficult issues. We will be fearful that difficult conversations will destroy us, and that fear will keep us second-rate in our teaching, pedestrian in our scholarship, and shallow in our ability to live in community. While this undoubtedly dates me, I have been recalling that popular youth group song of the 1970s, "They Will Know We Are Christians by Our Love," and I think, wouldn't that be something? Learning to speak and listen well in step with deep, informative faculty and staff development, while not the end-all, will nevertheless move us to being a university in which our Reformed Christian faith and tradition continue to shape all aspects of our academic life together. We already have strong starts in this work. And in the words of our vision statement, if you are compelled by God's work of renewal, we trust that you will join with us also. Thank you.
So somewhat predictably, we've eaten up the hour, and so the time for Q&A is short. But I do want to honor that intent, that original intent. We have microphones, cordless microphones at the front. If you just have a burning desire to ask a question of our panelists, we'd welcome that at this time. We can bring the mic to you, too. That's it. Okay. With that, let's thank our panelists again. Reminder that there's a dedication ceremony at 3:30 in the chapel. So all are invited to participate and celebrate further.